The Dale Show. Working on my night mode. Ain't no funny but
Nice.
you. Oh, look, do you like my kitten shirt that I'm wearing?
I do like your kitten shirt. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thanks.
I dig it.
It's funny though,
Yeah.
because I feel like this is cheating because I don't actually want to have a cat in my apartment, but I like that there's kittens on the shirt, so I feel like I'm misrepresenting every time I wear it.
I can understand that though, because like we brought a cat because of our renovation. I brought the cat litter box upstairs.
Woof.
So I've got a cat litter box in our bathroom.
Yeah.
And we also have a cat litter box downstairs. So I have two. So I'm like emptying out double the cat litter boxes, and it's gross. I don't blame you. And it, like in an apartment, I couldn't even imagine. I can remember. I can remember it was a long time ago now when I had an apartment with cats in it. We had two cats in an apartment. It was pretty.
Oh wow.
gross. So
yeah, I have a 1-bedroom, so that's a no goal for
Carla
me.
and Felix.
Yeah.
We had a 2-bedroom, so we had the cat box in the other bedroom. So that was
nice.
that
Oh,
was
nice.
how we killed apart.
Nice.
Kept the stink down to a minimum.
Welcome to the Dale Show, starring Dale and Jeff.
Hello.
This is episode 16. Sweet
Wow.
16.
Sweet 16, baby.
Yeah,
Quinceañera.
so we did a couple, what was I calling it? Nuts and bolts episodes?
Yeah. Meat and potatoes.
Yeah, we did a couple meat potatoes. Now we're going full esoteric because this week we're talking about Gnosticism. You know what I was wondering, Jeff? Let me ask you a question. Do you think Gnosticism has anything to do with gnarly? Because it's spelled GN.
That's the silent GN. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot of instances in our language where the G and the N combine to make a N.
Do you want to hear a little conspiracy that's kind of related to Gnosticism?
That's why I'm here.
Okay, this is an aside before we start. So there's this it's like a hedge fund, but they buy music libraries, and it's called the Gnosis thing or something.
Yeah.
And they bought half of Neil Young's, and then they have the Blackstone company, which is investing in all this real estate in Canada and stuff, and they own half of Neil Young's library. And they also, there's some and the Blackstone has one of the heads from Pfizer, and that's one of the reasons why Neil Young left Spotify.
It all comes together.
That's an old conspiracy, but every time I read Gnosis, I just think of that hedge fund thing. Oh, and I think they also just bought Justin Timberlake's library for $150 million.
It's probably one of those things where they own a bunch of rights to musicians' catalogs, so they can make money off of it in the future, off of publications or not publications, like movies and TV and stuff. Yeah,
and that's exactly what it is. But I keep saying hedge fund because that's how they're treating it. They're treating it like as a big investment thing. So they're taking the money from that and buying other stuff.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So
investing with the proceeds of musical funds. That's pretty interesting way to do it, but
just more music bismalarchy.
Bismalarchy. Oh baby, you
nice
got what I need.
Nice pull.
Oh wait, that's not Bismalarchy.
That's a good name for a cover band.
A cover band, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Totally.
You just do all Biz Marquee songs, but do them like alt rock style.
Totally.
Anybody can have that idea. Just invite me to your gig. I want to hear it.
Yeah. They'll get bought by Gnosis in no time, and then you lose your catalog.
So what we're talking about is Gnosticism. This is a religious belief, because I don't know if you know this, Jeff. Christianity, after Jesus was around, didn't just kind of curtail into one smooth stream of what we have now. Actually, because it's like,
really?
There's this weird convoluted history of Christianity where it's like you think it all comes from one trunk and then branches out into like Protestants, Catholics,
Seventh-day Adventists,
all that stuff. But it didn't start as one trunk, because right after Jesus died, in like 30 AD, everybody was trying to figure out how they would come to terms with the teachings of Christ as compared to the Hebrew Bible, because the teachings of Christ were all like, I love you. You're all so pretty. You all have nice dicks and you're all coming to heaven with me. But the Hebrew Bible was like, I'm a terrible God and I hate you. And if any of you fucks up,
vengeance,
I'm killing you. Like that bitch I turned into a pillar of salt in the fucking desert because she looked at me. So there was this period like right after Jesus died, so like 50 AD to like 200 AD, where people were just like throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. And this is supposedly where the main thing we're going to talk about, the Secret Book of John, which is a Gnosticism text. And I'm going to say we're going to talk about the Secret Book of John because like a whole bunch of different things, there was a whole bunch of different Gnostic texts that might be subtly different from each other. So I just want to tell you I'm talking about the Secret Book of John in case you're familiar with a different Gnostic text.
Cool.
Any questions?
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, so I did talk to you briefly about this earlier in the week, and I texted you after I watched a video, and you were like, no, it didn't happen before Christ's death. It happened after Christ's death. So some of the information that I saw was that Gnosticism predated Jesus completely.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So there's a I mean that might be total. I might have just watched the completely wrong video. I don't know anything about this, so I'm learning here as well with you. So yeah. So or it was in parallel. I can't remember what he said exactly. I should have taken better notes. It was either just slightly with or in parallel of Jesus's passing, as it were.
Yeah. So what happened is Gnosticism is based heavily on old Greek literature and like some of what Plato was talking about.
That's the same. Okay.
Yeah. So they talked about kind of the different God groups that we'll get into. But it wasn't like, because with Gnosticism, one of the main parts is Jesus is to save you from the old God or whatever, which I hate to bring up because we're not going to actually get that far. So we're going to start. So what I want to do is go through a timeline, and what we'll do is we'll talk about how Gnosticism, like the cosmogony, I gotta look up this word. So there's this word that cosmogony. So what we're going to talk about is the cosmogony of Gnosticism all the way up until Adam. And the word cosmogony refers to the study of the origin of particular astrophysical objects or systems, and is most commonly used in reference to the origin of the universe, i.e., the main accepted cosmogony is the Big Bang.
Okay.
So what I mean is I'm trying to sound smart by saying this smart word wrong a whole bunch of times. And that's basically, we're going to talk about how the origin of the universe happened in Gnosticism.
Okay.
So what you were talking about was, because I ran into that too. And I start like this whole thing, just like Gnosticism started. It started as a whole bunch of different stuff. And then I was going to like try to weasel it in. But like, because like you were saying, like Plato talked about all this different stuff. So I slightly looked at it all, but I didn't really want to include it all because apart from what I've been talking about the last 5 minutes, I was going to try keep this succinct, because Gnosticism, once I get into all like the cosmogony, is very convoluted. And it's going to take our best work to stay on track, because it's there's a lot of stuff where it's like, and then this happened. Yeah. So I will start with a basic description. So Gnosticism is from the ancient I swear to God, I swear to God, I can read. Gnosticism from ancient Greek, Gnostikos, which means having knowledge. But I'm getting all my main information about this from the Great Courses Gnosticism, from Nag Hammadi to the Gospel of Judas by Professor David Bracke. He doesn't say his own. He might say his own name, but I forgot. But so the main thing to remember about this is they use the term gnosis, which is translated to knowledge, but it doesn't just mean knowledge. It means gnosis refers to knowledge on personal experience or perception in a religious context. So gnosis is mystical or esoteric knowledge based on direct participation with the divine. So the main reason this religion is called Gnosticism is the way to salvation is through knowledge of the divine spark you have in yourself, which will make sense once I get through what I'm going to talk about. The basic way to think about the difference between gnosis and knowledge is think of a stove burner on your stove. Like you look at it and knowledge is, I know that's hot because it's orange, because it's on, because, you know, it's hot. But gnosis would be you touch it and you're like, I know it's hot because I interacted with it. So it's like this subtle thing that, you know, I don't know. It's like a little particular detail, but it's actually super fucking important because that's why they named the whole religion that. So, okay, so I'm just trying to. One good thing about this is it's not going to be Dale Reed's Wikipedia because I made a conscious effort.
So something different. So changing it up a little bit this time.
Yeah, so now it's going to be Dale Reed's.
I didn't mean that sassy.
That's fine. You can read it sassy. I'm sure there's people who listen to this and be like,
an actual published author.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm listening to these, the word I just forgot, this like, I think it's like a 13-point course on Gnosticism that I downloaded on Audible. Yeah. And I took point forms as I was going through. And so what we'll do is I'll say a point form, like it's like kind of like a timeline of the Gnostic beliefs. So I'll read them. And then I want you, Jeff, to interrupt me at anything that doesn't make sense because
with a question. Okay.
Yeah, because I've been in the whole, because I feel like I've been in the whole Gnosticism world, like learning about it. So there's some stuff I might just assume people know and they don't know. So I want you to like stop me and be like, I don't know what that is. Yes. Yes, exactly. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go way back in time to when I was talking about right away, about like 30 AD ish is when Jesus came and then he died. And then 50 AD is when the secret book of John was supposedly written by John the Baptist, which throwback to the Templar Night episodes when I said that they believed that the fucking head that they kept was the skull of John the Baptist.
Yeah.
So maybe the Templar Knights were Gnostic. Instead
that is actually Christian. A theory. That's another theory entirely. But yeah. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. One of the things about this podcast is the more I research, the more I learn about old subjects. I'm like, if only I would have known this when I was doing that 3-parter on Templar Knights.
Totally.
I could have expunged on that.
Expunged,
which is probably the wrong
That's a good word. No, expunged.
Okay. So there's this guy Marcion in 140 AD. He's basically saying what I was saying before. He says that Jesus' teachings, the New Testament, don't match up with the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament. So Jesus was not the son of the Old Testament God, but was the son of a new unknown God and was sent to save humans from the judgment of the old God. And this Marcion guy was saying shit like this in 140 AD. And you can imagine
the backlash on that.
Pumped people were to hear about that. And then
what's the opposite of pumped? I think that would be it. Like, what did that guy say? What did that blasphemous dude just say?
Yeah. And so in 180 AD, there's this guy Irenaeus. Yeah, Irenaeus.
Irenaeus?
Yeah, I know, right? Anytime anus is in something, I'm like, boom.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. Welcome to Jeff. So they'll make fun of historical folks' names.
Let's
Irenaeus.
Irenaeus is spelled Irenaeus. So he was like a guy in the Roman Empire, and he was actually what he did was he wrote this book called Detection and Overthrow of Gnosis, so-called. So he was trying to get kind of all these different Gnostic beliefs and heretic beliefs like witchcraft and whatever the fuck they're talking about. And he would write about the beliefs they had so people could recognize it and they could protect their poor little innocent Christian hearts from being led astray.
Yeah.
And this is actually really important because without this guy, we wouldn't have any knowledge of what was going on way, way back. Because in 400 AD, when Constantine kind of made Christianity the official religion of the Roman Catholic Empire and made Catholicism, they destroyed any like artifacts or anything about other religions they could find. So that's why I always thought that like Christianity was one solid trunk and then branched out. And I didn't think about the roots before that. And that's because Constantine kind of destroyed it all. But Irenaeus's book kept a copy of all that so he could be like, this is what to look out for. And this is important because
sounds like a reference manual.
Yeah. So in 1948, they found these Nag Hammadi texts in Yeah. So this is important because ancient texts that were considered heresy were destroyed and didn't leave a full account of what the beliefs of the groups were. Of course, many historians figured Irenaeus would naturally sway their beliefs for his own political purposes, whatever they may be. Since his document is so early on, it helped prove the validity of Nag Hammadi texts, which included the secret book of John. So without Irenaeus's books saying like this is what they believed, when they found the Nag Hammadi text, which is a library of collection of early Christian and Gnostic texts discovered in the Upper Egypt town of Nag Hammadi in 1945. So they found 13 leather-bound papyrus codices. Oh, here's a fun fact. Cool. Here's a fun fact about the word codices and how these fucking nerds are just trying to make you feel stupid when they shouldn't. Do you know what codices are?
Yeah. So like a codex is basically
a codice
form of codices is codex plural.
Mm-hmm.
So a codex is a book that indicates rules, laws. Nerds use them all the time for like games, like dice-based games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the short answer is codex is a book.
Codex is a book. It's a book of information. Well, it's a book of information. It has specific rules and it has background and it has it's usually background, it's rules, and it sort of goes through the background and how you get to current pieces.
Yeah.
So it's like a very specific type of book. It's a usable book.
It's the first version of a book because what used to happen in the way back times was they just wrote scrolls, and these scrolls were very difficult if you're going to copy them, or religious like pastors were trying to look up specific things in the Bible. They didn't want to have to unroll it. So what they did was they cut it into different codexes, like Jeff was saying, which is
big, right?
Yeah, which is basically a front and back page. And when they put those codexes together, those codices. Wait, what?
Codices.
Codices?
Yeah.
Codices?
Codices.
So when they put those codexes together, it became a codice.
Sure, codexes is fine.
Yeah, or those codices together became a codex. And Correct. So I was just so butthurt when I found this out because I thought a codex was like some super smart historical like anthropology word for something else.
It's a book.
And it's just a fucking book.
It's a historical reference book.
Just say books, nerds. So,
right.
Besides me just
of books, like, yeah.
This podcast is just secretly me being mad about feeling dumb my whole life.
Yeah, totally. It's a series of books that it's like an encyclopedia, but it's a useful manual, right? Rules and stuff. So yeah. So really it's just a book.
Yeah. Every time I find out that they're like, oh yeah, they found this shit in 1945, I'm like, I want to read it all. And then you're like,
yeah.
Then I download this 13-part lecture series on it. And I'm like, I'm never going to be able to get through this. There's just too much fucking shit. Like these codices had 52 different treatises included in them.
Yeah.
So
So this
Oh.
is what this is what you say like when somebody actually says that they're like an expert in a certain thing, like Gnostic theory, they've
Mhm.
read all those codexes, right? Like it's, or they've
Yeah.
had to, or if they haven't read them all, they've read the majority of most of them and have like done a dissertation on it. So like that's how people become experts in things. Like you have to read all that shit. For the rest of us who are just doing this off the side of our desk or on a weird Sunday afternoon in June, we don't read those whole books. We just try to make what we can of the topic information or like the high level stuff. So that's sort of the plan, right? So that's what sort of makes conspiracy theory things fun, is that like we only really have a base understanding of what's happening here, so we have to make the best out of what we know. Codices. They're just books.
One of the things that's also important is you're thinking to yourself, well, why do they keep finding all this fucking shit in Egypt? And that's because it's so fucking dry there that you can have a clay pot buried in the desert and it lasts 2,000 years without just fucking getting destroyed from underground moisture and stuff. Because if you were like bury, let's say, some gold plates in the wilderness of America, they would probably last because they're gold. But if you were to bury gold pots in the wilderness, they would get moisture and they would rot and they would decompose. And
anything paper here would last, right? Like, and even like we live in a virtual rainforest, so like anything paper wouldn't last a winter here.
Yeah, dude, even metal won't last here.
Metal won't last. It rusts, it corrodes, it gets all shitty and returns to the earth. Yeah,
you basically have to have stone that won't have direct rain on it.
Yeah, totally.
Because even that'll just get weathered away.
So I mean, Egypt is like a treasure trove of it's an ancient culture. It sits right in that belt of where the world first started. B, dry as fuck.
Yeah, dry as fuck.
Right? Dry as fuck.
Drier than...
of course, like the Egyptians were like masters of preserving things as well. So like if you look at like the mummies and the mummification processes and stuff too, right? Like not only is it dry, they also had like all these things. They were intentional about preserving their time frame, so we sort of reap the benefits of that by like
and we still don't know how they fucking made the pyramids. Come on,
we have no idea. It wasn't in the codices, so
that'd be awesome if we found a magic codice that was just like, oh, by the way, this is how we built the fucking pyramids. It wasn't aliens.
Manual. It wasn't aliens at all.
It wasn't slave labor. Yeah.
It was math.
Yeah, I'm gonna try not to get fucking sidetracked about what I think the fucking pyramids were, because I did a whole episode on pyramids and I could talk about that for hours.
That's another one, right?
And people came here to hear about Gnosticism.
They came here to hear about Gnosticism.
Okay, so are we ready to start the timeline of this convoluted cosmogony of Gnosticism?
Let's do it.
You know what would make this podcast better?
Tell me.
If I didn't have a stutter and I could read. That's what I'm gonna ask Santa for Christmas.
Pronounce complicated names.
Yeah. I'll be like, ooh, I'll say this word out loud and it'll make me sound so fucking smart. Actually, it makes the exact opposite effect because I can't pronounce it.
Yeah.
Dude, you have no idea how many times. You don't have no idea how many times I said Gnosticos to myself while researching this. I was just like, Gnosticos. Because it sounds like such a badass word.
Right.
Well, then
like a metal band name.
Didn't. Oh, that is such a good metal.
We are Gnosticos.
Yeah.
It's a great metal band name. Yeah.
Gnosticopolis.
Nice.
That's gonna take some. It's gonna take some workshopping.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll have to run that by a few people.
Yeah. Make sure it sounds literate. So now we're gonna get right into the cosmogony. I did it. Okay, I'm just gonna cut that clip out and put it over every other time I try to send. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, the power of editing.
So this is Professor David Brakey, his book, which is once again the Great Courses, Gnosticism, from Nag Hammadi to the Gospel of Judas, which, another side note, I know everybody's waiting for us to get started. I'm having a really good experience with these Great Courses things. So I might start listening to not just audiobooks. I might start listening to lectures and just get fucking smart.
Who are you?
I'm going to have the biggest fucking brain, Jeff, And people are going to be like, damn, your brain's finally bigger than your penis. Oh, now we don't have to just
Finally, finally.
now we
It's
don't have
been
to
neck
just
and
like you
neck
because you're
for
so
so
good
long.
looking. We could actually talk to you.
We can have a conversation. It's a toss-up between whether I want to talk to you or whether I want to whip out that great big hog of yours and play with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I have to do in my aging years when I lose my good looks,
Yeah.
is just fucking either get smart
This
or
is what
pretend
happens
to
to
be
me on a
smart.
regular basis. I want to talk to you, but you're so damn handsome. I just want to make love to you. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's like get an OnlyFans or talk about aliens.
Yeah.
And I don't want my bedroom to stink like my inside, so I'm just gonna listen to stuff about aliens.
Oh God. Moving on.
Okay.
I'm supposed to keep you on track for this episode, and so far I'm doing a shit job. F-.
Hey, people don't come here for the on-track material. They would just listen to the great courses on Gnosticism by themselves.
Yes.
They come here for the fucking wicked jokes about my bedroom stinking because my OnlyFans. So in this book, or not this book, in this lecture series, from Neg Hammadi to the Gospel of Judas by Professor David Brackey. I'm not going to talk about the Gospel of Judas. Sorry, that's just the title. So I guess I just edgelorded you. But anyways, he starts talking about the secret book of John. And I like this one a lot because it, as the cosmogony is very like straightforward and start to finish. So this is where we're going to start. So remember back like 10 minutes ago, before all the super good content about how smart I want to be, I was talking about how this I erupted Uranus. What did we call him?
Reamdanus.
Yeah, Reamdanus, Irenaeus. We were talking about how his book that was actually good. So his book, or so in the Neg Hammadi, there was the secret book of John. John the Baptist, and they can kind of like, oh, this just says this, and then they look back at this Irenaeus book and they're like, oh, so this finally, without further ado, is the basic synopsis / plot line of the secret book of John.
Okay.
So I think he said 1950 AD, probably the most important fact that I didn't bother writing down because I was like, I'll remember that. It's 1950. Prove me wrong. If I'm wrong, just write it in the comments or whatever. Yeah. So John is met on the road by a Pharisee. Like he's just, I don't know, fucking on some road somewhere. Just because that's how they travel.
People in ancient times used to do, just pick a road.
Yeah. Go. He's probably going to get some milk and honey and live that fucking high life.
Live that life.
Yeah. Which, oh, by the way, I totally forgot to mention, I'm drinking tea with milk and honey just to get into the mood.
You're basically John the Baptist.
Because it makes me feel like I love reading old shit. This is total another side note. Sorry. I love reading old shit because like when I feel bad about my life, I'll make tea with milk and honey in it and be like, I'm basically a sultan for like 2,000 years ago. Sorry.
Just deeply rooting yourself in history. That's okay. No, yeah, you're doing great. You're doing wonderful. Carry on. So John's walking down the road.
I digress. So he's walking down the road and he's met. Oh, there's this road that John's walking down. He's met by a Pharisee who are these people in the Bible. They come up all the time and they're basically Bible trolls who are like, your beliefs are stupid. Whatever you're doing is dumb. I'm going to point out the flaws. So the Pharisee tells John that he's been misled by Jesus and has strayed away from the Jewish teachings of God. And this is like that whole thing where there's a lot of people who didn't actually accept Jesus as the Son of God, especially back when it happened. And this is kind of where Christianity and Jewish faith split. So the Pharisee questions who Jesus, he's like, who is this guy supposed to be? And if he's the Son of God, where did he go? And then right at this moment, the heavens open and a Savior appears to be 3 different forms at the same time. So it's like, I guess like this might actually, the
Son and the Holy Ghost.
No, it's a baby, person, and an old person. So this might actually be the Holy Trinity, which
Right.
Jeff just said the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So, and this thing starts talking to John. It doesn't mention the Pharisee guy, whatever, but I bet he fucked right off. He's like, oh shit, I'm out of here.
I'm out.
But
ghosts later.
So this triumvirate or whatever it was tells John the whole history of humans and stuff. And the Savior starts this long speech, which becomes the rest of the book of John. So the start of the secret book of John is like a paragraph of him walking down the road. And then the whole rest of the book of John is the speech that the triumvirate or Savior or mystical being or whatever you want to call it gives to John. And supposedly the book is meant to teach us where we're from and where the lower God came from. Dun, 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 dramatic pause. That's right, the lower God. So if you want to find salvation, you need to know where you come from. You need to know you come from a God higher than the one you already know. And this is kind of where the Gnosis part of Gnosticism comes in, because the way to salvation is to know the splinter of divine energy inside of you. So the way to think of the higher God is that, okay. Remember when I said this is going to get very convoluted?
Yeah, no, but I mean, I'm keep going. You're doing great.
Okay. This
you
is
got lower God, you got higher God. You're moving.
This is right where it gets convoluted. So this is the higher God.
Okay, let's hear it.
He's like the invisible spirit or whatever they refer to him as. So the way to think about him is, now the professor says, think of him like a mind full of aeons, thoughts, which are constantly active and creative. So I don't know. So yeah, so think of it like that. So the first aeon is forethought. And this is originated when the invisible spirit, which I guess they kind of call them different things, but the invisible spirit. So basically when this upper God thought about himself, it created an aeon, which in the mind metaphor is a thought. So think of the invisible spirit as your brain, and the aeons as like neurons firing in your brain. So when the invisible spirit thought about himself, it created forethought. And that's because like the invisible spirit thought about himself.
Okay.
All aeons come from forethought, and he's the highest level that we as humans can comprehend. Like we can actually comprehend the invisible spirit, which is good for me because I'm having a real fucking hard time explaining what it is.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why.
So I mean, one of the ways to look at it is like somebody explained to me a long time ago is the omniscient spirit, right? Like it's everywhere. You can't really know it. It's not tangible. It's more of it's more concept than anything else. So
it's not actually everywhere.
Oh, it's not. It's only where?
Oh wait, is it everywhere? This is another thing, because which will come up. I'll tell you when it comes up, but it's like,
okay,
I don't know if the invisible spirit is everywhere or it's just like the aeons aren't everywhere.
Okay.
Okay.
Carry on.
So where was I? So
sorry, I blew your track up. My bad.
That's fine.
Okay.
This is going to happen a lot, at least for the first chunk where it's hard. So, and this is kind of why I want you to ask me questions so that we can all understand this. Otherwise, the rest is just going to be a fucking train wreck.
Slog. Okay.
Like more than a train wreck than we're already talking. So all aeons come from forethought, and this is the highest level we can hope to understand. And forethought is also referred to as Barbelo. So if I ever say Barbelo, that's forethought and Barbelo. It's the same thing. Yeah. When Barbelo and all the aliens are referenced, they are called the entirety. So you have the invisible spirit and you have the entirety, and that's all the neurons thought of as like a group. So it's basically just like the aeon. I don't know why they wouldn't just say the aeons.
That would be, I think you would think that they would just say that.
Yeah. So forethought is also known as the womb of entirety because it made 4 new aeons appear. So we have Barbelo, forethought, and it's like, and 4 new aeons come out. So one of them is prior prior acquaintance or intellect. These are just the English translations of the Greek words for what they're called. And you don't have to worry about these names too much. There's just one or two you have to remember for the story to make sense.
Okay.
So the four first aeons are prior acquaintance or intellect, incorruptibility, eternal life, and truth. So I know what you're thinking now. You're like, oh, are these all aspects of us? It doesn't say as far as I got in the Gnostic text, but I imagine some of them would be like, oh, when you're influenced by these aeons, that's like how you know truth and stuff. But that's not for this. Right now, this is just their names. Has nothing to do with their effects on us.
All right.
So the invisible spirit looks at Barbelo and is like, hey, that's fucking Barbelo. This is where the convolution started. And this causes a spark. And the spark becomes the divine self-originate, also known as the anointed one, also known as Christ.
Okay.
I don't know if this is actually the same Jesus or if it's just like,
like
Christ
another concept
has
of it.
A use of the word or whatever. So anyways.
Yeah.
Since this new aeon was made by an interaction of the invisible spirit and Barbelo, it is... Okay. Sorry. Since this new aeon was made by an interaction, the invisible spirit, Barbelo, and the anointed one are considered a family. This also might be considered the Holy Trinity. Yes?
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good. You just answered it.
Okay. It doesn't say these are the Holy Trinity.
But it could be.
Anybody's like, three.
Conceptually, you can put those three pieces together.
Mm-hmm.
So the thought of the upper God split off and created the Christ figure and the...
Well, actually,
okay.
What happened was you have the God, and then you have the forethought. Barbelo split off. Barbelo makes four more, but then the spirit looks at Barbelo and is like, hey, what's up? It doesn't say, hey, what's up, or like fornicate.
Yeah,
or whatever.
It recognizes it. It recognizes the thought. I gotcha.
I think it's just like when the Great Spirit thought about it itself, it made forethought. Or Barbelo, when it thought about Barbelo, it made the anointed one, or Christ, or whatever.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Which we don't have to worry about too much, because as far as I got into Gnosticism, it doesn't come up again. I'm just telling you everything so you get an overview. So, okay. Now this is another confusing thing. So with the appearance of the anointed one, 12 more aeons in 4 groups of 3 appear. The 4 leaders of these groups are called luminaries. And another thing is, so these 12 aeons are actually 24, because each of these aeons has, this is the annoying part of Gnosticism, because it's like, so you have 12 aeons split into 4 groups of 3 teams, I guess.
Yeah.
But each one of those aeons has a consortium pair, just like DNA, where it's like the opposite. So whenever one of these aeons is male, it automatically has a female
counterpart. Okay.
I don't know if that counts for the original 4. I don't think it does. And I don't think it counts for Barbelo. It's just kind of the bottom rung, the 12.
Right.
And this, a lot of people also view as where like the pantheon of Greek gods come from. And this might be like reference, like they might have just been copying.
12, right?
Yeah.
So 12 paired, 24, there's like 24 Greek gods paired.
This also could be where the Gnostics were copying Plato's notes and stuff, and we're just
Yeah.
Okay,
I can see that.
And so, like, a lot of reasons why this is convoluted is because you have people in like 50 AD being like, okay, this doesn't make sense. Let's kind of make it make sense. So they probably just like, that's what's a lot of this stuff. So, and then, okay. Our world came into being when the harmony and stability of the entirety was disturbed, because wisdom, who is the lowest aeon of all of them, so she's the bottom of those new 12. She she wants to have her own thought. She's like, I want to have my own thought. But which is weird because you figure the thought of wanting to have your own thought is a thought. So you get into this like kind of paradox of reasoning. Anyways, so
It goes
she
on
wants to
forever
have
like
her
that,
own
yeah.
thought apart from the invisible spirit. So she's like, I want to have a thought of my own. Like the invisible spirit had this fucking thought about itself, and then came out Barbalo and Forethought, and all the shit started. So maybe I want to do that. So
Yeah.
Wisdom does this, and she didn't do it without, she was like, kept it secret. She's like, I'm gonna have my own thought, and I'm not gonna tell my fucking partner who is Afterthought. So Wisdom's consort or opposite sex is the male Afterthought. And so,
Right.
but since Aeon
Oh
is
man. Okay.
okay, are we still good?
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
still good. I just needed
Okay.
a second to process that, but I'm
Yeah.
good now.
Since Wisdom is an Aeon of God, she has divine power in her. So this means her
Okay.
thinking had to be productive, because anything with divine power, when it has a thought, it makes something. And
Right.
that's why we got all these Aeons in the first place. So she produces another being, but since she operated without the without the consent of the entirety, all the other Aeons, or even her partner Afterthought, what has been produced is imperfect and ugly, because it's kind of like basically the copy of a copy.
Right.
Like when you
like when
photocopy a
it degrades
photocopy.
over time.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, this thing is misshapen and bad. So a bad thought is produced, and she was embarrassed by her imperfect being. So she cast it outside of the entirety, so the other divine beings wouldn't see it. So this is where, remember when I was like, I don't know if the divine spirit is everything and everything, or
Right.
so this is where I was confused, because it doesn't pinpoint for sure if outside of the entirety also means outside of the divine spirit, or if it just means outside of the group of Aeons. But it says entirety, so I'm just going to say the group of Aeons. So outside of the group of Aeons is basically formless matter. I guess it's like life goo or whatever.
Sure.
So
Mana, if you will.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry. That's sidetracking you. Carry on.
So she's like, she just fucking kicks this thing out. She's like, get the fuck out of here. She names it Yaldabaoth. And this is the Genesis God / the Old Testament God. So this is where he comes from. And since he's in formless matter, and he kind of has when he got kicked out, he kind of took Wisdom's divine power with him. And so he's like, oh, I have all this power. And he kind of remembers the entirety. Like this would be in the movie where you have like memory flashes, and he like kind of remembers this group of people. So he makes these other groups like his own set of Aeons. They don't say what they are or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Just call them the rulers. And then this is in the Testament, or sorry, this is in the Bible when he refers to like making Adam in our image and stuff like that. That would be Yaldabaoth and the other rulers.
Okay.
So, so yeah, since he was flawed and imperfect, this universe that he creates is also flawed. And that's basically like, remember when they say Lord works in mysterious ways?
Yes. Yeah.
What they mean was the Lord was an imperfect being and he couldn't make perfection. So that's why we don't live in paradise. That's why people die. That's why people have pain and everything. So, and then, so this is the creation myth. Like he takes the formless matter, he makes Earth and our universe. And then he's like, look at what I fucking did. Boom. And this is where God's like, I'm the greatest God, put no other gods before me. So Wisdom sees Yaldabaoth do this, and she's like, oh shit, this guy's kind of getting a fucking attitude. We better knock him down a few pegs. And this was like when he said, oh, I'm better than everybody else. So this is, like the Gnostics view Yaldabaoth as inferior to the higher God, because he has like ignorance. Like in the Old Testament, he says, Adam, my son, where are you? And you're like, well, if you were the God who knows all, wouldn't you know where Adam was? And then since he's imperfect, this is also why he's full of wrath. Like he gets mad at humans and tries to kill them all the time, or like fucking makes that lady into a pillar of salt. Or when the people fucking in Egypt who were leaving with Moses and they were like eating like fucking dew off the ground and they're like, give us birds. He like gives them poison birds and they all die.
Right.
And this is all because he's an imperfect being. So
aren't we all?
And this is, remember when we were talking about red pill, blue pill?
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, I couldn't come to terms with how like Christianity seemed like there's two gods, like there's the Old Testament God and the New Testament God. Once I found out about this, I was like, that makes so much sense.
It makes more sense now. Yeah.
And like,
so would that be like kind of the higher God, lower God piece? Or is
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So Old Testament God is the lower God,
lower God.
Yaldabaoth, and
then New Testament
invisible
God
spirit.
Right.
He's the higher God.
Gotcha.
And then and this is also kind of weird because I don't think the aeons are more powerful than Old Testament God, because otherwise the secret book of John would be over by now, because they would have just been like, he sucks, we're getting rid of him.
End of story. Yeah, totally.
Okay. And then one thing this saying was Moses wrote the first five books of the Bible, and Gnostics say either he didn't know that God was a lower God, or he knew and he was just like, fuck, I ain't
just chose to ignore it. Yeah.
Totally. It's kind of like if I write about this, he'll find out, and I don't want to be the whistleblower type of deal.
I don't want to be on the other end of that wrathful God.
Yeah. So Wisdom, after she sees how arrogant Yaldabaoth is, she gets upset. So she goes back to the entirety and she repents. She tells him what happened. She's like, oh my God, I wanted to have this thought. She probably didn't say, oh my God, because whatever. Anyway, she's like,
I don't know if that was invented yet. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, I'm so sorry. I made this guy named Yaldabaoth because I wanted to have a thought by myself and I didn't. And the afterthought's probably just like, Jesus fuck, is this chick gonna get me in trouble or what? Am I gonna get kicked out of the entirety? So they have mercy on her and they're like, come here, Wisdom, it's okay, we all make mistakes. And she comes back into harmony with the entirety. So this is another convoluted thing, because it's like, and then she was temporarily united with Afterthought and they worked with Forethought Barbelo to rectify what Wisdom had done. So it's Wisdom, Afterthought, and Barbelo. They just have basically a brainstorming. They're like, what the fuck are we going to do with Yaldabaoth? How do we do this? So Forethought projects an image of a divine human to the lower realms where Yaldabaoth is. So basically he's just like, think of it as like a hologram. Like he's like, oh, look at these divine humans we're hanging out with, the fucking bumping. So he sends a hologram of people having fun and partying. And Yaldabaoth and his rulers see this and I'm like, that dude looks fucking dope. Let's make some for ourselves.
Cool. Totally. Like, and that's how it spirals out of control.
So Yaldabaoth sees this and he goes to his co-rulers and he's like, hey, let's make one after our own image so that they might share in the light that they see. So it's like they want to get a piece of that action. So in Genesis 1:26, and God said, let us make humankind in our image according to our likeness. This is like the us and our is Yaldabaoth talking to the rulers being like, hey, we should fucking do this, eh? And they're like,
let's make some people for ourselves.
They're like, I'll get the Molly. Let's have this fucking party.
Let's do it. Get some.
So in the Bible, they make humanity twice. There's like, if you read the Bible, I don't know. I don't need to pull mine out, but whatever. So they pull it out. So there's like,
start pulling it out. It's only fans time.
Yeah. Let's make this room stink, eh, Jeff?
I'll crack a window.
Yeah. So they make humanity twice. The first is purely spiritual. Is okay. So sorry, I got ahead of myself. So in the Bible, it says that here, I'm just going to reference it. So I'm going to tell you which ones to look at. It's like right at the beginning.
This is the Moses part?
No,
The part
this
that
is like,
Moses
this
wrote?
is still Genesis. This
Oh,
is
right. Yeah, okay.
God making
Yeah.
making Adam, basically.
Making
So
yeah.
if you look at like one, yeah, like what I just said, 126, he's like, let us make humankind in our likeness, and then blah, blah, blah. So God created humankind in his image, and the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply. So that's Genesis 1, 26, 27. Then if you go to Genesis 2, verse 4, it says another count of creation. And this part, it just says God took some mud and then breathed life into it and made Adam that way. So what the early Gnostics are saying, or what the early Christians and stuff, they're like, fuck, how do we come to terms with these two different tales? So what they're saying happened was the first one was like when he's like, God created humans in his own image. That's what we consider our soul.
Okay.
And then when he took them up from mud, that's our body, like our physical being.
The physical form.
And breathing life was he like crammed the soul inside.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how they came to terms with it. But
you can see that on my OnlyFans. I'm just cramming the soul inside of me.
So yeah, Genesis 2:7. Then the Lord God formed man from the dust on the ground and breathed in his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. So that's the second thing. So,
or he's talking about a golem.
Yeah, that's what. Hey, have you been reading my werewolf novel? I've been
reading your. No,
that comes into it.
I wish I was reading your werewolf novel.
Is, yeah. So what actually happened? What actually happened according to Gnostics was Yaldabaoth and his rulers created humans, and this is the spirit form, but they didn't move and they weren't partying because Yald is an imperfect god and he can't create things that work or whatever. So Barbelo and Wisdom and some divine beings disguised as lower rulers go down, and they're like, gee, that sucks. Your dude doesn't move. Maybe you should breathe some breath of life into it.
Yeah.
See what fucking happens, brah. And
fill those nostrils. Fill them.
Yeah. So this is where he breathes into it and it comes alive. But it was a trick because Wisdom and Barbelo want this divine energy that Yaldabaoth had took from the entirety when he was kicked out, because he kind of took Wisdom's divine power. So when he breathed into the spirit, he actually breathed that divine power into the humans. And then he's like, oh, fuck, I've been tricked. Yeah. I made these humans. I gave them divine power. Now they're more powerful than me and our rulers. So this is the part where he makes the dirt body and he crams the fucking soul with his divine power inside the dirt body, so that basically our divine power is obscured and diffused.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so that they won't be like, we don't need you. We're fucking divine powers.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's
in response, yeah. Sorry?
That's my stripper name. Divine powers.
So Barbelo sees this and he's like, oh, fuck, now these humans aren't going to be able to get us our fucking divine power back. So in response to this, Barbelo sends Wisdom in the form of Afterthought to hide in the human being and to guide his thinking entirely. So this apparently is what our conscious is. And you know how, like, it's like the devil and the angel on her shoulder. Yeah. That's actually an aeon who's like talking to us to be like, wouldn't it be better if you were just not a fucking dickhead and did good things so we could get our divine power back instead of fucking being
seems reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, they're trying to regain the power from Yaldabaoth. And it's not, that's so like, okay, now Yaldabaoth sees this and he's trying to to prevent humans from realizing their power within them. So he has to stop them from worshiping this higher god and their link and stuff. So Yaldabaoth realizes that wisdom / afterthought is in Adam. So Yaldabaoth creates Eve, and it's like, and he's like, if I create a female body, the female aeon will be attracted to it and get stuck to it. So it won't be able to talk to Adam from the inside of his head.
Right.
And he won't be able to get enlightened. But this fucking blows up in Yaldabaoth's face, because wisdom is like, yeah, I'll go into my own body, because then I could just fucking talk to Adam with my voice. And she's like, hey, I'm an aeon. This God we're talking about, he's not the real God. There's a higher God and shit. And Yaldabaoth is like, shit, I fucked up again.
Oh no. Yeah. That's 2 fuck ups in the same day.
Yeah.
People
so then Adam's like,
less.
yeah, Adam realizes he is a fragment of the divine from up above. And he's like, oh, fuck, I'm actually pretty dope, eh? And she's like, yeah, we're both fucking dope.
Yeah.
So the rulers and Yaldabaoth are like, fuck, what are we going to do? So they're like, as long as he doesn't eat this fucking tree of knowledge, he won't have full gnosis of what's going on.
Knowledge. Gotcha.
So it's like, so the tree of knowledge, the apple is kind of like interacting with him. And then that's where this whole thing name comes from. But in Gnosticism, it's not, it's like a lizard doesn't trick Adam and Eve into eating it. An eagle brings the apple to them and is like, I am saving you from your other god. And it's
eagles are dope.
And this is Afterthought appears as an eagle, and then he's like, hey, you want to eat this fucking apple?
By the way,
apple.
Yeah.
It's pretty dope.
That's interesting they choose eagle.
I know, right?
Yeah.
This could also be because one of the reasons this is an aside. One of the reasons I got so excited about researching Gnosticism is it's a lot of occult beliefs are based on this. So you'll like, it's one of those things. It's like the number 23, where it's like, once you think about it, you kind of see it everywhere. And this could be where the like, don't tread on me symbol comes from, where the eagle attacking the snake could be like, one's Gnosticism, true knowledge or whatever. And one's the snake represents the old religion where we're so like that. I'm not saying that's what it means, but
it could, there could be a link there. I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. I ain't saying, I'm just saying.
Yeah. So this pisses fucking Yaldabaoth right off. He's like, you know what? You fuckers ate this apple. Get out of my garden of Eden.
Get out.
Go fucking somewhere that's not here. And then
you had a chance to frolic naked all day.
Yeah.
What did you do? You chose violence.
Mm-hmm. And then, so this is also like why he started covering himself. He like learned what a Peter was and stuff. He's like, oh no.
My ding dong.
Yeah. So he kicks out. And then here's a dark turn. Yaldabaoth is like, I'm going to fucking get wisdom. I'm going to rape Eve, because wisdom at this point is still inside of Eve. And then
dicey. Here we go.
The divine beings that were still in disguise amongst the rulers are like, we got to do something. Yaldabaoth's about to rape Eve. So they take wisdom out of Eve. Yaldabaoth still rapes her. And then that's where Cain and Abel come from. So according to Gnostics, Cain and Abel aren't actually the sons of Adam. They're the sons of Eve and Yaldabaoth.
Right.
This is also the origin of sexual intercourse.
Oh, yeah.
Because before this, humans weren't like, and so I guess they kind of figure out what it is and stuff. And then also the rulers in Yaldabaoth, they're like, we got a chance here. So what they do is they implant the desire for sex. So I guess it's like, you consider it like an STD. Like after Yaldabaoth gets Eve pregnant with Cain and Abel, she gets the horniness as an STD. And she's like, you know what? Besides the obvious bullshit, I kind of liked it. So so the desire for sex comes from Yaldabaoth as the rulers as a way for us basically to make more people and disperse the divine spirit.
Nice. And then that spirit, the horniness leaves you right around 44, 45, and you start a podcast. Dale's dying. He muted for just a moment.
Sorry.
Dale's Rooter drinking hard tea.
I coughed so hard I'm seeing like black dots. Anyways.
Yeah, that's bad.
Sorry, yeah. I didn't hear what you were saying because I was fucking coughing my brains out.
I just said, and then that desire for sex leaves around 40, between 40 and 42, and that's when you start a podcast.
Yeah, so
I don't want to fuck anymore, so let's talk about Gnosticism on the internet.
Yeah. So if you think about it, the reason Adam was more powerful than Yaldabaoth was because he had all of wisdom's divine power in just him. But now it's split between him and Adam. And once they have more kids, it's split between them all. Yeah. But it's not all bad because now Adam and Eve have sex and they give birth to Seth, which another weird thing is, before knowing this, it was something I never noticed because in the Bible, it goes, and now let's learn about the descendant, or what is it? Here, I'm going to look it up because it is a weird, it is a weird way that they say it. So you're going through, you're reading, you're becoming good and blah, blah, blah.
That's another one of those interesting names that like appears in multiple cultures.
Yeah.
Like Seth is like in Egypt and Seth is in our Bible, you know.
And I think Seth like from the Egyptian gods is kind of the same
Seth
thing.
From the Egyptian, same thing, so, right? It all comes from the same idea.
Yeah. And the weird thing about this Gnosticism shit is you keep finding clues in the Bible and you're like, well, why is it like that if it doesn't, you know? So in the Bible, it says Adam's descendants to Noah and his sons. And it basically works down the lineage from Adam to Noah. And it starts with Seth. It doesn't mention Cain and Abel.
So that's interesting. Seth is a Hebrew name initially, depending on where you read. But yeah, interesting. Okay.
Now I
got distracted by the name Seth.
I get that might be because Noah is a descendant of Seth, so he wouldn't be a descendant of Cain. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just weird that they're like, so Seth, and they just fucking Cain and Abel are gone. Whatever.
Yeah.
Well, Abel's dead and Cain got kicked out and had to
Abel's dead
with a different group of people. Whatever. It just that's one of those things I'm not going to get into because it's a whole sidetrack. So
that's the story.
Because Adam and Eve, with their own divine spirit, had the fornicatiness, Seth is the begotten image of an archetypal divine Seth that resides in the entirety, which I don't really know what that means. I guess that Seth is kind of like in the image of an aeon because two people with divine power made him. Again,
still dying. Please hold. Your call,
and this is
important to us.
Oh, sorry. And so this is funny because in this is one of the reasons why a lot of Gnostics call themselves the Seed of Seth, which it's right there. Just call yourself Seth sperm. You don't have to call yourself the Seed of Seth. And
the Jizzy Sethingtons.
Yeah. And it's and another group of people, sometimes they refer to themselves as Sethians and stuff like that. And then after this happens, the rulers give Adam the water of forgetfulness, so humans totally forget about upper God. And that's why, so now Gnostics are like, you gotta like use your Gnosis of the divine spirit inside you to build a connection to the higher God so you could get salvation.
Right.
And that's where we're going to stop for today. Because I was like, what, almost an hour?
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of topic for an hour too. That's a lot. There's a lot going on in there.
I didn't think I'd get through it all that fast, actually.
No, you did. You did really well. I'm proud of you. I didn't interrupt you very much because I was just mostly listening. That was good.
Yeah. Isn't that fucking dope ass?
It's pretty cool. Like, yeah, to think that there's I don't know, to think there's something other than whatever the current structure of
Mhm.
religion is, right? I mean, like, I get it. There's like, you have this person who's the Messiah, who's like wandering the earth, who's a physical person and a manifestation of a God you believe in, and then that person dies, and then you're like left to figure out and pick up the pieces and sort out like, okay, what do we do now? How does this go? And then that's where you get all the splinter factions. So it's like, it's interesting to hear this as like an alternative to current religion. So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah,
And just
it's
so
cool.
everybody knows, the actual secret book of John keeps going. It's
Yeah.
just that was a good natural break right after Adam, because it's like it's so much to wrap your head around. And
It's a
like
lot, yeah.
that was actually fucking, I think that was like 4 hours of
Lecture, yeah.
lecture getting all that information in. And of course,
Yeah.
he had a little bit more background stuff on like the codices and stuff. And like I was saying before, when I was like, a lot of occult shit has Gnosticism in its core beliefs. What I was talking about, that anytime you see Saturn worship
Oh yeah, okay.
or
That makes,
Luciferianism
yeah,
or the black cube and shit like that, that all
Gnostic belief.
roundabout comes back to Gnosticism.
Huh.
With the belief that the Old Testament God wasn't actually the real God. So like
Right.
Luciferianisms, they kind of believe that Lucifer brought people the knowledge of how powerful they were. And like, it's not like, I don't think Luciferians believe in like the invisible spirit above God, but they believe the part where people have divine power inside of them and they are their own
Right.
God. And that's why in that you're all like, you use your own power to bring yourself to salvation instead of the belief in God and stuff.
Right. That seems right, if I remember reading. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. And then oh yeah, so what I was talking about before with Plato and what he was talking about, if you want to read about that, that's in his work Timaeus from 360 BC. And that was something about the world as a copy of the spirit, like the spirit is a perfect being or something. And then other things that go into this is Aleister Crowley believed a lot of this Gnostic stuff. Theosophy, that thing we kind of touched on
that a while back, yeah,
with the cult beliefs of the Nazis. So that's Blavatsky and stuff, and black cube worship. So that all, it's like this thing where it's like, I don't know.
Does this tie into Paradise Lost a little bit? You know, the Milton, because Lucifer's like a key character in that poem. I'm gonna look into this now. Okay, now I'm interested in that.
This is,
I see what you mean. You can go like so off the.
That's why I was kind of like focused on the secret book of John, because when I started this, I was like, it's too big.
Yeah, it's a number of tabs open on your browser. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny because I didn't actually, because once I started
tab count this week.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So
That's
I had
not so bad.
Gnosticism, because I start this wherever I start anything. I just go to Wikipedia and look up Gnosticism.
Yeah.
Then I look up
understanding and go from there.
Greco-Roman mysteries. And then I had to find out what cosmogony meant, because they reference cosmogony in explaining what Gnosticism is, but they don't tell you what cosmogony is. Yeah. And then I looked up Saturn worship, and it's just this fucking balls out weirdo crazy, one of those like actual conspiracy websites where you feel
right.
It's like
you feel gross,
the equivalent of porn. You're like, I shouldn't be looking at this.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Why am I watching this?
Yeah. It's funny because it's like when you're a teenager looking at porn, you're like, are mom and dad going to know I was looking at porn on my computer? And then when you're like 40, you're like, is the government going to know I was looking at conspiracies on my computer?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's just different levels of other people viewing your viewing habits.
Yeah, and this was...
Yeah, you're no longer concerned about the porn thing. You're now wondering if you're on a blacklist somewhere, you're going to get pulled over.
Yeah, so if you want to hear this website, it's Nicholson1968.com/Nicholton1968s post/Saturn worship the black cube. So,
wow, and deep in the internet.
Yeah, so it's like And the weird thing about this is it's like, yeah, this is all bullshit or whatever. And then you're like, but if it's bullshit, why do like all these museums have big black cubes in them and stuff? And you're like, what does that mean? And like
the obelisks and shit.
yeah. And
Yeah.
like the one that Muhammad's buried, I can't remember the name of it, like that big black cube that Muslims march around in a circle.
Oh,
which is supposed to be, anyways, that's a big black cube. And then like it's in like fucking Black Eyed Peas videos
Kaaba?
and stuff.
The Kaaba. Talking about the Kaaba?
Maybe, yeah.
It's
And
a
it-
black stone, the Kabbalah, Kibla?
Yeah. And then in this,
I don't
and then
remember.
it's
I can
like,
see it though. I see this picture, and they have like a whole people march around it, and it's
Mhm.
interesting.
and this thing was also like, this is why the Borg run around in cubes in Star Trek. Like, it's
Yeah, totally.
all-
It was the same. It was all from the same story arc. Interesting.
yeah. And then what I was talking about, like actual just big black cubes as sculptures. There's one in Santa Ana, there's one in Manhattan, there's one in Australia, there's one in Denmark. You could probably just Google that or DuckDuckGo it.
Weird.
Yeah, and then it's like it gets into weird shit. Like that's what why the two T's are rings and the Toyota logo. Those are Saturn rings, and then the Nike swoosh is supposed to be a part of the Saturn ring and all that stuff. So, like
there's a bunch of black cubes.
like we
I
were
didn't know that.
talking, you can go down the rabbit hole.
You can wrap it up very, very easily.
Yeah,
Man,
I'm
I didn't
getting
realize there was so
hoarse.
much black cube, and only from the waist down. Oh,
This is
man.
what happens when you take a month off podcasting.
Yeah, your vocal cords are not used to it. Yeah, I
They're
don't
all
have that
like,
problem.
we're not used to you screaming about conspiracies.
We took a nice break from that, and now we're healed.
Yeah.
And now you have to go get raspy again.
Yeah, we're catching up on weddings after COVID, so that's
Nice.
why I took a while off. I had to go all around Alberta. Well, I took a week off and I went and I visited my family and stuff. It was fun.
Cool. Yeah,
It's nice to get out of the city.
older than you, so nobody's getting married that I know anymore. I
Yeah.
don't have any younger siblings or anything like that. So my wedding invites are over. It's now divorce parties for me.
Hey, now you get the second round.
Second round. Yeah.
Where
I'm
they're
not
like
getting those.
kind of like weird in a way.
Yeah,
They're
always weird.
either like, okay, this is just a legal ceremony, we're gonna get this over and done with, or it's
Yeah.
like catching up on everything they missed the first time around.
Is this for tax purposes? I don't know. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why I'm here. Yeah, totally.
You want to know a cool thing in Alberta? You can,
Yes, I do.
Anybody can get ordained to marry someone for 24 hours.
I saw that our esteemed associate, Keenan Foster, got ordained.
Yeah, and he married Jared Bolin,
did.
which is
Yeah,
which
I
is
figured that's
Derek
why.
Bolin's little brother from my other podcast, Outrage Factory.
Nice. Yeah,
That's the
good.
wedding
Good
we
for him.
went to.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. So like, of course I hear that and I'm like, which random person am I going to get to marry me? And I was talking to Andrea because we've been dating like 6 or 7 years and it's about that time. And
Yeah.
then I just went full Dale. I'm like, we could get the most random people. I was like, let's get a homeless person to marry us. I was like, oh, that wouldn't work. Can't really trust them and stuff. And then I was like, well, let's get
They're gonna turn up. Maybe they're gonna turn up. How do you communicate with them? What's happening? Yeah.
yeah. And,
You need to get you need Joe Rogan to marry you.
oh my God. If Joe Rogan, hey Joe Rogan, if you're listening to this, come up
Dale
to
needs you
Alberta.
to
Hey,
get ordained.
he has friends in Alberta, Canada. He
Are you gonna
mentions
get married in Alberta?
probably. All of our families, all of her families out there,
both
all
of
of
your
my
families are there.
families
Yeah.
out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, my aunts and
Well, they're
uncles on my
close.
dad's side are in BC.
Aren't they just
so-
inside the BC border? Your family? They're
Mm,
like, no.
They're all by Edmonton and Calgary.
Oh, okay.
They're like 90% of the population of Alberta is just in those two cities.
Yeah, in those two cities for sure. Yeah. And then the rest are in Red Deer.
Oh yeah. I was
Red Deer
yeah. Everybody
and
else is
Fort
in Red Deer.
McMurray. Red
Fort
Deer and Fort
Mac,
McMurray.
yeah.
But those aren't people from Fort McMurray. Those are people from other places.
And Lethbridge
Lethbridge. Oh, yeah, right.
can't get a stable population because it's too windy and people hate it and they go crazy
Yeah.
and leave.
I remember
too
when I used
windy.
to race rally cars, we were in like Okotoks and Canmore and those places, and it's like, holy shit, it's windy here because there's nothing to stop the wind from coming through. Right?
Yeah,
Plains.
just that flatness.
Yep.
Did that affect your rallying? Like, would it like?
Nah,
make
not
you,
really.
oh,
Cars are pretty fast, so you don't have to really
that's
worry
true.
too much about the wind.
I think you're more
Yeah.
worried about the corners, eh?
You're more worried about the corners. Yeah, for sure.
All right. So is there anything left? What are we at? Like an hour? How long ago did we start?
Hour and 20 minutes, hour and 10 minutes.
Because we're fucking around with
Yeah,
mics and
with
stuff
audio
for a long
for a few
time.
minutes.
Anything we need to cover? Fuck. I just
With
feel like we went through it so fast. I feel like I missed something.
No. I think it's fine. Are we doing a part 2 of this?
We can, yeah.
Yeah, okay, let's do that because I want to read a little bit more about this.
I still got so much more of this secret book of John to listen to because like what I'm assuming is it goes all the way to Jesus.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of worried that because as far as plot line and storyline goes, we covered most of Gnosticism.
Yeah.
So I think the rest will just be more ancillary characters. And I'm scared that like it'll focus on minutia. Like
and then
when I was listening to it, it was like talking about how Seth had a sister that was a different aeon or something. And they're like, and we'll talk about that in lecture 6. And I'm like, am I gonna have to hear about this random character for a whole hour? Because it's like each lecture is an hour long.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
I see what you're saying.
It'll be good though. It'll because right now we're kind of like, well, because the problem right now is we didn't get to how Gnosticism's actually reached salvation.
Sure.
So we'll do a part 2. We have to.
Cool.
Because if you're like me and you're like seriously contemplating being a Gnostic because it clicks all the boxes, and you got to be like, you got to hang out with down with Jesus and not have to deal with angry God from the Old Testament. I mean, it's the best of everything.
Angry God's not my jam.
No, man, it sucks. Like it's funny because when I started reading the Bible, when I started this or listening to the Bible, when I started this podcast, people were asking me, they're like, aren't you scared you're going to go like basically be tricked into being religious? I was like, I don't know if that'll happen. And it just made me so much less malicious or so much less falling for it. Because if you read the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, which is the ones that Moses wrote, it does not look good. Like it's basically like a horror show.
Yeah, it's doom and gloom.
Like, okay, yeah. So it is good to kind of understand like the old stuff that still plagues our world, like Abrahamic religions. Like a lot of people don't realize that Christianity, Judaism, and Islam are all the same basic, have the same roots. Because it was like God went to Abraham and it was like, hey, if you believe in me, I will deliver your people to the promised land. And then all of those became like all of those religions are after that thought because it's that God talking to Abraham. And then it's like Moses was a descendant of Abraham. So he was taking his people to the promised land out of Egypt. And he doesn't even get to go to the promised land because he pissed off God somewhere along that 40-year-long journey. Like what happens is he convinces all these people to leave Egypt. They're like, fuck, we don't want to go, whatever. And then he's like, okay. So they finally leave. And then there's a point along the journey where they piss off God. And God's like, well, now this fucking thing's going to take you 40 years. Like that's why they were lost in the wilderness for 40 years because God was like,
fuck you guys,
screwed up. So they're about to get to the promised land, which is the Levant area, which is where Jesus was born, which is where Israel and Palestine are having this conflict. And this is why this all makes sense. And he's about to cross a river to get there. And then he fucking dies of old age.
Worse.
And then that's it. And you're like, what? So
Yeah, it's a little bit of a womp womp ending.
Yeah. It's just it's a little of the Game of Thrones / Lost
Totally.
ending when you're like, what?
Yeah.
I
The
sat
end.
through this for
Yeah.
that.
I dedicated 9 hours of my life 5 to 7 times for you.
Yeah, like in Lost, when you're like, it's okay. They're kind of they're lost in the
Yeah.
wilderness. They'll figure it out, and then they don't.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what was the deal with Walt? Why was he so special? And they never
It was inside
explained.
this cube all along.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake. Throw your remote at the TV. What's on
Yeah.
next? What's playing next?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I should go my laundry ding.
Ooh, fancy.
Fun
Okay.
Sunday. Fun Sunday.
So it's gonna be a while for part 2 because
Sure.
I have to research it and listen to stuff and take notes and try to learn how to say words out loud.
Pronunciation class with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. All right. Well, just let me know. You know, I'll be here for you.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining me, dude.
Hey, thanks for having me today.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, I always forget to do this, but we should say where you can find us.
Oh,
I do
yeah.
have a Dale Show Patreon. If you want to give me
nice.
some money so I can have some money and I'll buy proper equipment so that we don't
Yeah, I'll
have
get a
to
microphone that is
struggle
my
with stuff.
laptop.
Yeah. So we don't have to struggle with stuff, and I could get like a soundy thing where you do the levels and shit.
Cool.
Oh yeah, funny aside, I was looking at new headsets because this is my backup.
Yeah, that's a different one. I was just gonna say that's
Yeah.
a backup one.
Because the one I started this with you was good,
it was-
except for it started crackling on my S's. So I had to go
Right.
back to my fallback, which is these ones. And the ears are kind of small, so it kind of pinches after a while.
That's
And it kind of has a weird echoey sound. So I was in AMB Games or whatever, GameStop, and I was like looking at Turtle Beaches because these are just gaming headset. And I was like, hey, do these Turtle Beaches, will they work for podcasts? And the guy was like, the fucking cashier at GameStop, no offense to him, but he's a cashier at GameStop. And then he's just like, well, actually, to do a podcast, you need a much better equipment than that. It's like, bro, I don't have money for that shit.
I'm literally using Zoom to do my podcast.
Yeah, I was like, if I had hundreds of dollars to get the proper equipment, I would have the proper equipment. Actually, so
you need a soundproof studio to get your audio. This is my bedroom.
That's true.
My bedroom has carpets.
Ooh. My whole apartment has carpets. But
nice.
So if you want to make me look like an asshole and make the guy at GameStop right, just give me money for my Patreon.
I'll validate the I'll
if
validate
you feel bad
GameStop.
because I was making fun of a guy who's just trying to make ends meet with
you
a
could
job
rectify
he
that with money.
prefers, just make me look like an asshole by giving me money.
Yeah, totally. That'll teach him.
Yeah. If you want to get some some swag with the logo on it, that tri-face skull with the TDS on it,
dope.
You just go to Redbubble. The link is in the show notes.
I gotta get one of those actually.
Yeah, do it, dude. I might make an order. I have some stickers I could give you.
Yeah, I don't want stickers. I want to get a mug.
I'll show the good people who are still here. Who haven't fucking
good people who've managed to stick with us this long.
The good people who are like riding their bike or something and they can't turn it off because they're like, fuck.
I'm pedaling and my hands are busy.
Yeah. If you want to get some dope ass stickers like this.
Look at those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
And then they're just like, they're even cut around stickers, which is
look at that.
I'm very impressed with. So that's the logo. You can get that on t-shirts, hats, and whatever. And I don't know if I have it, but I also have just the TDS that I'm gonna put on a ball cap that looks pretty tight. If you want,
I'm 4 for 5 on ordering mugs from the internet where they arrive intact.
Oh, really?
I've only had one broken in 5 mug orders.
So what happens? You just be like, yo,
hey, the handle came off of this one in transit at some point. And they're like, yep, tough beans. So I'm like, all right, cool.
I've ordered Outrage Factory mugs. I've ordered 7, 8 mugs altogether. 2 from Some from Redbubble, some from Vistaprint, and some
Yeah.
from actually everybody. Costco has a good fucking mugs because the mugs from Redbubble. This is anti-advertising. They're small,
They're
but
small,
Costco
yeah.
has like the 20-ounce mugs, which are dope.
Yeah.
That's the outrage. That's the Black Outrage Factory mug that you see me with. That's from
Yeah.
Costco. Yeah, if you want to catch me on the socials, you can follow me at SuperDalebot on Twitter. You're what? At
I'm
Mr.
Mr. Goats on Twitter at Mr. Goats, MISTERGOATS. I post infrequently.
And I have a TikTok, which is at Dale DeRuiter, DALEDERUITER. That's just me saying jokes on there that I don't want to like go in front of a crowd and do whatever. No. Yeah, but if you want to,
if you're looking to put a set of handlebars on a 2018 plus Harley Davidson Softail, you could view my YouTube channel at youtube.com/JeffGoche.
Oh, you have a YouTube channel. Nice.
I haven't updated it in like 3 years.
Oh, okay.
It was 2 bikes ago.
Oh, actually, I have a YouTube channel too, and it's actually at Outrage Factory. So if you're listening to this on Spotify or Anchor or one of the things, just go to YouTube, search Outrage Factory, and it'll be mixed in with those videos. But the Dale Show has a separate playlist, so you can watch all 16 episodes, but they're in the Outrage Factory feed. And I also made it like titled them The Dale Show. So if you go on YouTube and search The Dale Show, they'll come up.
Perfect.
I think that's it.
Sweet.
Yeah. Thanks for coming by. I hope I learned you good.
You did. It's awesome. It's better than what I researched on my own, so that's cool.
All right. I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Thank you.